personal development coach and intuitive guide, and today we're going to talk about intuition. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 unique tips to open and strengthen that connection with your intuition. Yes, even for you left brain folks who think you're not cut out for it. Now, before we dive into intuition, I just want to share a little bit about myself. My entire life since I was 6 years old, have been naturally open, what some people might call gifted, but honestly, I just believe we all innately have this wisdom within us. But that wasn't really nurtured as I was a child growing up. It was kind of terrifying for me, my parents, everyone involved. We weren't really sure what was going on. But over those years, I had started to trick myself into believing that whatever it was I was experiencing, this connection, this extrasensory connection to the world around me and other worlds, if I must say, I believed that there was something wrong with me. It wasn't accepted in society. It wasn't something that people wanted to know about or hear about, especially having grown up in the Bible Belt in conservative Arkansas. So this was a part of me that I pushed into the shadow, and I shamed and I guilted myself into pretending that it just didn't exist, until it was undoubtedly right there in my face when I was 21 years old. I bought my very first tarot card deck, and it wasn't even, I was a depressed atheist at the time. I was angry at the world. I was nowhere near accepting the fact that we might have something deeper within us that goes beyond what the eyes can see or that the mind can think, right? And when I bought my first tarot card deck for an art project, because I was an art major at the time, it just opened my world right up. I mean, doors just flew wide open. Next thing you know, I'm having dreams with people who'd passed away that I never even met, and they were bringing me all these messages. I was having premonitions. I was having almost like telepathic experiences with people where I knew what they were going to say. It was a really interesting experience, and it was intense. It was really intense, but it didn't have to be. The intensity was just that I didn't know how to navigate it, and I didn't know that this was really possible for all of us, and it reopened a lot of old wounds of being ashamed of having this intuitive side to myself. But throughout my spiritual journey, the more I read books and the more I nurtured this part of me, the more I started to realize that we are all innately intuitive. We are intuitive beings, and we use our intuition to help support our analytical mind to navigate through life. And those of us who can tap into our intuition and listen to it even more, just give it a little bit louder of a voice, it seems like we avoid challenges that others may not, or we're at least able to get through those challenges with ease. Not to mention, we get like a little heads up, downloads I like to call it, from the universe. It gives us a little idea of what's coming around the corner. And that can be really reassuring for us in this crazy human life when everything's just like, So this is a topic of mine that I am very ready to just open up and explore with all of you. I started doing intuitive readings and working with people in the intuitive space a decade ago, but it honestly hasn't been until the last few years that I felt really comfortable talking about this openly and honestly with friends and family, where people on Facebook can hear me talk about it, And so this is really me stepping into my authentic truth as well, just by doing these simple videos. Now, listen, you could go online, you could Google strengthen intuition and get like 50 million articles on steps, tools, and tricks for opening that intuition. But here's what sets my tips apart from others that you might find in this video. I'm not giving you steps to practice, okay? In fact, I don't want you to practice at all. Even the word practice just makes it sound boring. And we don't have to practice what's innately within us. We just have to unlearn a few habits that we've gathered along the years in this crazy earth school, right? So let's kind of bring this down to earth a bit, because some of you might be like, yeah, this is awesome. Others might be like, this is a little woo-woo for me. So I just want to kind of bring this back down to earth for a moment. Intuition is nothing crazy. All right? It's your inner voice. It's your compass that guides you on your true path. It's a knowing without knowing why or how you know. And we've all got it. Whether we're operating mostly in our creative right brain or in our organized analytical left brain, you might think that you don't have any intuition, but guess what? You're a human being. You have to have intuition. It's that knowing. And I bet you can think back on times in your life where you had that urge, that nudge, that telling that you didn't listen to, and perhaps after the following events, you might, in hindsight, be like, I should have listened to that gut knowing, that feeling, that sensation, that whatever it was, that voice. That is just one way intuition shows up in our lives. It shows up in our lives in so many beautiful ways that I wouldn't even be able to cover it all in this video. But I want to talk a bit about the benefits of tuning into our intuition. So like I said, it's always there. We just have to kind of take a cloth and wipe away the dirt and the cloudiness so that we can reveal the bright light that's already shining within us. But when we can tune into that intuition, when we can use it to our advantage, there are so many benefits. One, it reduces stress. Plain and simple, it reduces stress by helping you identify and handle the problems in your life more efficiently because you don't get so caught up in that thinking mind. You're able to feel into your challenges and learn how to navigate, make decisions based on that knowing. It also boosts your imagination and creativity. You know, when we were children, wow, like possibilities were so open for us. I could just stay in my mind outside digging a hole in the dirt for 4 hours and have created an entire world and people and all of this adventure. But as we get older, society tells us that we have to grow up. We have to, stop living in our daydreams. And the problem is that's part of intuition. A lot of us connect with our intuition through visions, it's almost like you feel like you're pretending sometimes. But when we can tap back into that inner child that so gladly imagines and plays and creates, right there, we're strong in our intuition. And then like a snake eating its tail, that in turn also boosts our imagination and creativity. So it's great for musicians and artists and anyone else who works in that creative space. It also supports your analytical brain in decision making, like I was saying earlier. We want to marry the head and the heart. We don't want to only make decisions with our thinking mind, and sometimes we perhaps don't only want to make decisions with our emotions and our feelings. Having those two working side by side is a beautiful, balanced relationship, because we are human after all. It also, having your intuition strengthened and connected, helps you get clear on your purpose and calling in life. A purpose and calling that may ebb and flow as you grow into the awareness of your true nature, but regardless, that intuition, you just know. When you can learn to trust your intuition, you just know and you follow it without fear. Well, you might have a little fear, but that's okay. You still trust in yourself so much so that you follow that urge and that feeling that guides you. And next thing you know, you're breaking all the illusions that kept you separated from your purpose and calling in your life. Having a strong intuition also improves your relationships because you're able to tune in to the feelings of others. You're able to get a sense, not with your own mental projections, but getting a sense of their energetic field, their emotions, the things that they're experiencing in their reality. You're able to tune into that and show up for them in a way that you might not have been able to if you were completely oblivious to the ways that they may be feeling. And I don't want to get into the fear-based part of intuition, but it can also help you get a reading on strangers and people that have just come into your life. Sometimes your intuition tells you when something's a little bit off about someone, and you can make the well-informed decision to cut ties with that person if that's what's necessary, or to stick with some people in a crowd versus others. And intuition also boosts your confidence in so many ways in your own judgment and wisdom. Because when you start to see your intuitive hits coming to fruition in the way that you predicted, wow, your own judgment and wisdom, you begin to trust it. You begin to see that you are, in fact, you have all of the wisdom within you. So when you have that strong intuition, Your confidence goes right up. Now, let's get into the 5 unique tips that you may have not thought of before when it comes to strengthening and opening your intuition. First and foremost, number 1, without a doubt, don't even bother doing anything else before this step. Declutter. What do I mean by that? Make space. And I mean this on a very literal and metaphorical level. When we keep our personal environment decluttered, we allow that energy to flow. We feel comfortable, we feel relaxed, we feel at ease. We're able to tune into ourselves on a deeper level. Now, when I'm talking about less tangible ways of decluttering, I mean making space from distractions. You know, we've got our phones, we've got Facebook going off, Instagram, ding, 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 emails, everything. We're constantly bombarded with communication. We're bombarded with advertisements. We are bombarded in this technological era. So we want to declutter and make space for us to think and breathe and be without noises everywhere and messages everywhere and everyone trying to get a hold of us all at once and reading all the updates by everybody else. Like, we want to just take a few moments to breathe in as much silence as is possible in wherever it is that you live, to just make space for you to be. Decluttering also applies to relationships. You know, when we're investing so much of ourselves in everyone else, we're cluttered. We don't make space for us to think or feel about our personal lives. We're always investing our energy in other people. Perhaps some of these people in our lives are energetic vampires and they're just sucking it dry, our energy right out of us. You're not able to really tune into your intuition from that space because you're drained, you're tired. Same thing with your physical body. Are you eating the right foods, or are you just cluttering up your insides? Are you clogging up your insides with dead energy that doesn't give you any nutrition? If that's the case, intuition will be dampened. Now, I'm not judging anybody or any of us because I fall into this line with all of you. This decluttering is something that is continuously a focus of mine. I ask myself a lot, where can I declutter? And I'm very aware of when I'm very cluttered. Even ask my husband when it comes to my clean clothes in a pile next to my bed. I'm very aware of these areas. And so this is a judgment-free zone. You just want to get curious about yourself. Ask yourself, where am I cluttered in my life? Now, the reason why decluttering is so important is because it gives us that space to feel into who and what we are in truth. And that leads us into tip number 2 for strengthening and opening your intuition. Tune into your senses. Your senses, not your mental chatter, your senses. And I don't mean make yourself feel a certain way. I mean open. Open and then exist. Just be. Not trying to force yourself to see, hear, smell, taste, feel, think anything. None of that. Just open to receive. And what you might notice is that your intuition in this moment may have a certain voice. And this voice may be expressed to you through visions, through sound, through things like even taste and smell, through sensations in your body, or what some people call claircognizance, which is a knowing. You just know. You don't know why you know, but you know. You didn't hear the words, you didn't feel the words, you didn't see the words or see the image that the words would describe. You just know. Now, these are different ways in which intuition can show up for you. And for some of us, we might have a dominant knowing. We might see, and when I say see, I usually mean see with not these eyes, but more like this eye, your mental eye. You might see flashes of imagery. You might see slower playing, almost like a movie reel right in front of your mental eye. Or you could be like some people and actually see it in your visual reality here. But some people, there might be a certain sense that is stronger than others. And for some of us, myself as an example, we receive this information with all of our senses. So when I'm tuning into my intuition, whether it's for myself to make a decision or to gain insight about a future event or to even just see where I'm feeling blocked, what needs shifting, or if I'm doing a reading for someone, an intuitive reading for someone, I tune into all of my senses because the information comes to me in a variety of ways, and none of them are more dominant than the other. So it's important that when you declutter, you're able to make that space for you to tune into your senses and get to know the voice of your intuition. How does it show up for you? And get curious about it. It helps sometimes if you go back in time and kind of think like, okay, when did my intuition fire up? How did it fire up? And in hindsight, how did that turn out? Step or tip number 3 is use tools. And this might sound strange. I want to demystify crystals, essential oils, tarot cards, oracle cards. I want to demystify this for a moment. Not that I don't think they're magical, because they provide this magical air to everything. I mean, to be honest with you, nothing in this life is not magical. We are in an incredible experience of co-creation. All of this is magical. But sometimes there's a little bit of, people distrust tools because they think that, it's, how can it be real? How can it really do what it says it's going to do? I like to say that these tools have the power because of our intention as not just an individual, but as a collective behind it. They are what one of my favorite channels, Bashar, Paul Anka channels, Bashar, he says, they are our permission slips. These tools are our permission slips to break out of the boxes we've been in that keep us blinded to what's beyond this illusion of separation and density. So if I fully believe that this rose quartz crystal is going to open up my heart chakra and ground me in love and open me up to this abundant love just flowing through me, if I really truly believe it, I feel it, the collective agrees with it, then absolutely that rose quartz crystal is going to open up my heart chakra. It's going to open me up to love. And so for some people, tools, they don't like them, and that's okay. You don't have to. But I found for myself, just like when I bought my first tarot card deck for the art project I told you about when I was 21 years old, I had no belief in anything like that whatsoever. I bought it for the artwork. I wanted to create my own because I thought the symbolism and archetypes were pretty cool. But as I started diving into these tools, this tarot card deck, I tapped into the collective power, the collective wisdom that we hold, that we put in these cards. The archetypes and the symbols came to life because of the energy that was already invested into that tool on a much higher level. So for me, it resonated with me. I started to feel it. I started to open my own intuition through the cards. The cards weren't telling me things that I didn't already know. It was helping me give permission to myself to open up to the information I already had within me. So that's what these tools are. And I highly recommend it. One of my favorite tools now in present day life is essential oils. And this is because it's not just a collective energy put into. It is actually the power of the plant itself. Plants are, I'm a vegan, I'm a whole food vegan, I eat healthy, I eat plants all day, every day, fruit for life. Like, I love plants. This is how I've healed my body. This is how I've healed my mind, my emotions, my spirit, is through plants. And so for essential oils, what a powerful way to get the essence of these plants condensed into a little bottle that helps with specific things. Different properties of the plants help aid certain things in the body. So there are oils that you can use for opening your intuition, opening your abilities, your gifts, your wisdom. there's so many, like frankincense, myrrh, lavender, peppermint oil, bergamot. I mean, I could go on forever. Sandalwood. Anyway, don't get me going. So choose your tool and get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with it and play. Have fun. Intuition's supposed to be fun. Tip number 4, visualize a meeting with your universal self, or what I sometimes call the multidimensional self. Sometimes I used to call it future self. Future self sounded too small. So then I called it universal self. But even then, that sounded too small. And so I like multidimensional, but I also try to bring this down to earth a little bit. So for the sake of earth, let's call it universal self. Now, visualizing is a powerful way for you to tap into your creative energy, your imagination, once again bringing your intuition to life. Now, our universal self is not actually outside of us. It is us. We are in essence a fragment of our universal self. But sometimes we get caught up in this heavy, dense planet, this illusion of we don't know anything and we've forgotten and we're just hopeless and helpless. So we always look outside for answers. We have this savior complex where we just worship these gurus and these gods that we think are going to come save us. We're the ones that are to save ourselves. And there's really no saving. It's just waking up. It's just opening up. And so with our universal self, when we spend time visualizing a meeting with our universal self, we can open up to the messages that we have for ourselves, but the messages that don't come from our small mind, our thinking mind. It's the messages that come from the part of us, the wholeness of us, that gets a bird's eye view or higher perspective of this whole intricate cosmic experience. So when we can tap into that version of us, that part of our being, we can remind ourselves the things that we've forgotten to open and help navigate us throughout our life. So I actually have a really powerful visualization for meeting your universal self that I use with my one-on-one clients. And it's beautiful to see how when they're stuck and they think they don't have the answers to a situation, and I say, well, hey, what would your universal self say after we've spent time meeting with their universal self? They know the answer right away. No questions asked, no doubt. They're immediately right there. And I'm like, wow. And it blows their minds too. They're like, wow, I didn't know I had that answer. So spend time visualizing a meeting with your universal self. Tip number 5, and this one is probably the one where you might say, well, this sounds like work. This sounds like practice. And I want to spend a minute here. Keep track. Keep track and check later. So what I mean by that is when you get an intuitive hunch, when you get an intuitive insight, a download, a feeling, a vision, a sensation, a sound, whatever it is, whichever way your intuition speaks to you. When you get that hunch, write it down. Write down that intuitive hunch. You could even get a journal just for intuitive insights. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, I haven't done this. I'd be lying if I said I do this. It's like painstaking for me to journal. I can't stand journaling. However, most of my clients, my one-on-one coaching clients, my tarot clients, whoever, intuitive reading clients, they love to journal. And it is so beneficial for them. And they're able to, after this experience actually does happen, they can check later, maybe a month down the road, maybe a year down the road, maybe just a few days down the road, and see, okay, how did that pan out? I had an intuitive hunch that XYZ would happen, and this is how it happened. And this is a beautiful way for you to build your confidence. I have a pretty damn good memory, so I kind of like log these into my mind and then I reflect back later. And I do have a folder on my computer where I keep track of dreams where I've communicated with people who've passed away, because they're just so magical that I'm like, there's no way I could remember all of these details. So I do keep track of that. I like to type. I don't like to write. It takes too long. I can't write fast enough for the words to come out of my brain. So I guess that's why I don't like journaling. But for those of you who like journaling, even if you just want to voice record, if you have something you can just record your voice, then in the future, check it. test it out, see how it went. And if it didn't pan out, don't give up on your intuition. It doesn't mean that you're not intuitive. It just means that maybe your ego got in the way. Maybe there was some fear involved that got you reading the situation incorrectly. Or what if a timeline shifted? You know, we have free will. We are able to make different choices at any waking moment. And so if we can have free will and there's 7+ billion of us on this planet, you better bet possibilities are changing like this, just everywhere. So everything isn't always written in stone. You do have the choice. So don't get down on yourself if you find out that later your intuition didn't pan out the way that you thought the situation would. It's just a fun way for you to kind of build that confidence and see where your fear or your ego might be getting in the way. Now, once again, to kind of go back to what I was saying earlier about don't worry about practicing. It is something that we should increase our awareness on, but we don't have to force ourselves into this practice where we're just like, I have to work on my intuition today. That's not fun. We don't like chores. People don't like that. You don't want to add that to your to-do list, work on intuition today. That's not exciting. Next thing you know, you'll be forgetting about it and on to something else. You want to create a fun environment, an exciting place for you to tune in with your intuition. You want to experiment and just let it flow as life happens. You don't have to make it happen. You could, if you want, if it sounds good to you, you could sit still and say, I'm going to just try to connect with myself and see what intuitive insights I get. By all means, do what feels right to you. But most importantly, have fun, get super curious. This is a beautiful, beautiful way for you to start opening up your perfect wisdom so that you can make more empowering choices. And me, as a coach, that is what I am all about, helping you make empowering choices. And so I hope that you guys have fun with this video. I hope these tips help you out. Send me emails. Let me know. How is your intuition opening up for you? And if you haven't already, check out my 2019 yearly forecast intuitive readings. I am giving people for an amazing price, huge discount with so many other freebies and awesome stuff. You can just click on the link that I'll send you in this email following this video and you'll get more information to come. All right? So you guys have fun. I will see you around.